Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Derek Bodette, and I get the privilege of introducing you to Steve Rowe. Currently living in Portland with his wife and serving as counsel to the law firm Barrow Dana. Steve is running to be the next governor of the state of Maine, and he brings much to the table with his past experiences. With degrees from West Point, the University of Utah, and a doctorate degree from the University of Maine School of Law. Steve was well accomplished with his 6 years in the Army. From infantry to financial management, Steve used these skills and proved successful as an attorney general for many years, helping to make Maine safer and cleaner. Steve grew up in a small town in Oklahoma, and his father was a hard-working man, and Steve's parents installed in him and his 4 sisters and brothers the values of honesty, hard work, and helping others. All these values make Steve a formal candidate for the governor of Maine, and I'd like to introduce to you Steve Rowe.
Thank you all very much. Derek, thank you very much for that nice introduction. And you already heard I'm not a native, so we'll get that out there and living, but we're both hardworking. I'm going to tell you why I'm running for governor. A lot of people, they say with the unemployment rate, what it is, people underemployed, people have lost their homes, businesses have closed. Why in the world would you want to run for governor? And some people say you must be crazy. And I say, no, those are the very reasons I'm running for governor, because of the challenges facing the state. When this national recession lifts, we're still going to have challenges here in Maine. And they're not going to go away with the passage of time, and inaction is not going to take them away. We need some bold, decisive, innovative leadership here in the state of Maine. And that's why I'm running, to deliver that leadership. Derek told you a little bit about myself. I'm going to tell you a little bit more. I've got an hour, right? So I won't go.
I'm the timekeeper. So
okay, so I've never had an hour. I'm not going to take an hour. I'll take 2 minutes. But anyhow, I was born in a small town of about 400 people. I grew up on a little farm, a small farm, with we had all kinds of animals. We had chickens and pigs and horses and cows. And I did learn the value of hard work, the value of honesty, and the importance of education. When I remember, I haven't told just some personal stories, we have time. I remember when I think I was 10 years old, the same summer I fell off a horse and broke my arm, and my brother fell off a horse and fractured his skull. And my mother made my father sell the 2 horses. And but that didn't stop us, because we had a cousin next door that had a bunch of horses, so we would ride our cousin's horses. So I grew up in the country, and I was a hunter and a fisherman, and I enjoyed the outdoors. When I was 18 years old, my dad saw an ad in the paper. My dad had been a veteran in the Second World War, and he saw an ad in the paper about our local congressman was giving exams to young men who were, at that time it was only young men, who were interested in attending the service academies. And I took the exam and got a nomination to West Point, the military academy in New York, and then I got the appointment to West Point. And so I went, and it was an eye-opening experience for me. I don't know if any of you have been to West Point or know, or any have brothers or sisters who've gone there or children. But I showed up and I really didn't know what I was getting into, and I soon found out. They give you more than a good haircut. As a plebe, it's tough. Just to share a couple of experiences with you, I remember during Beast Barracks, the first time it's called Beast Barracks when you get there, and you don't get to eat much. And I remember sitting at a table, and you sit at a table, all your meals are squared, and you put your fork or spoon down before you chew. And I was eating breakfast. I remember this vividly. And I was eating Cheerios. And I was taking big bites, I found out. So my squad leader said I was taking big bites, so I had to stop eating. Well, the bites I was taking were individual Cheerios. Little did I know you have to cut the Cheerios in half and eat 1/2 at a time, and then put your... So you can see how this was about building character and discipline. And indeed, I lost a lot of weight that first summer. But I did come through with it. And there were a lot of other experiences. Squad leaders coming in your room at night in Beast Barracks and turning on the lights and finding out if you're sleeping at attention or not. It was kind of a halfway a joke, but you had to get to attention. So, but anyhow, I got through there. It was an interesting experience. And 2 years after I graduated, they admitted women to the service academies. But when I went, it was all men. So I graduated in 1975 from West Point. I was commissioned as an officer in the infantry. and I'd gone to airborne school. I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, and did the infantry officer basic, and then I was assigned to Fort Carson, Colorado. And I married then, and I married a young woman who had 2 children. And we went to Germany for 3 years, and we had a child in Germany. And we came back to the United States, to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is home of the 18th Airborne Corps. It's the 82nd Airborne. And there's some other units there, the Green Berets. And I found myself at age 26, I ended up being a single parent with 3 little kids. And I had a 2-, 4-, and 6-year-old. And I say that just because I understand the challenges of single parenting, because I went through that. It was less than 2 years, but I went through it, and I understand it's hard. And most of the people who are single parents in Maine who have children are women, and it's hard, and it's a lot. You have a full-time job, you drop the children off, and you pick them up, and you give them baths and showers, and it's hard, and I learned that. Fortunately, at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, not fortunately, but one of my sons got sick, and I took him to the hospital, and I was treated by this wonderful pediatric nurse practitioner. And my other son, about a month later, became ill and went back, and I took him to her too. I got her, and the 3rd time I asked her out on the date. And I ended up asking her to marry me, and she said yes. And she was from South Portland, Maine, is from South Portland, Maine. And so we came here, we left the Army on the same day, and came here about 29 years ago to Maine. And I've lived in the city of Portland since that time. I got an MBA in the Army, and I Master in Business Administration. I went to work at Fairchild Semiconductor in South Portland, and finance and marketing. And then I went to law school at the University of Maine School of Law, and Libby and I are both graduates at the University of Maine School of Law. And by the way, Libby and I are good friends. You should know that. We'll say that as we go on. See, we've always been good friends. And I got out of law school, and I went to work with UMF Corporation. And I worked in law and product development at UMF. And then I spent 8 years in the House of Representatives, and I served, as Tom said, I served as Speaker of the House. I don't know if you said it, but I served as Speaker of the House 2 years. I followed Libby. We were both speakers. And then I had the great honor of being elected the Attorney General for the state of Maine. And I served 4 terms as Attorney General. That's 8 consecutive years. And then I was term limited. This was in 2009. I had to leave. And we have a good Attorney General now. Does anybody know who it is? Yeah. Where's she from? Good. I know you know that. So. But anyway, I am working very part-time with a law firm now and running for governor full-time. But I mentioned my background just so you get an idea of who I am. And I have learned, at West Point I learned about duty, honor, country. I learned about hard work and integrity and leadership and about planning. And one of the issues that I talk about with state government that I want to change is we too often do short-term planning. We'll plan for 1 or 2 years at a time. We sort of go home and come back. And we talk about long-term planning, but as governor, I'm going to engage in long-term planning. We have to have a long-term strategic plan for the state of Maine.